off and then hand over to the lovely Rachel. Welcome. I think a few more people arrived there, Annabelle, etc. So, as you know, this is our Thrive community. So we've a number of thriving leaders on board, and we run these every month. So delighted you could join us today. So what we usually do is Rachel will present for half an hour or just over, and then we will open it up for discussion. If you haven't met before, maybe do a little introduction in the chat just to say your name and your organization, and maybe one thing you're hoping to achieve from today, or hear from Rachel. So Rachel is the CEO of Corin and brings a wealth of experience in AI strategy. And we actually ran a very similar webinar a few weeks ago, and we got great feedback about it. So thanks, Rachel. So that's why we thought we'd bring her back for Thrive this week. Rachel, as I said, is founder of Corin, but also works as a mantra a strategist, so is one of our associates. She was also recognised as Young Leader of the Year at the Business Post Leadership Awards. I think that was 2024, Rachel.
Yes.
So a great achievement, and really Corin specialises in helping SMEs and individuals scale with clarity and using AI where it adds value. So she brings a wealth of experience. I'm looking forward to seeing this presentation because I wasn't at the last one. Just a few house rules. As I said, you'll speak for 30 to 40 minutes, then we'll open up the floor. This is a reflective space, so we do invite people to speak freely but respectfully. I'm sure there's no issue there. If it is something controversial that you want to bring up about a team member or colleague, do avoid sharing names because this is recorded, and we do operate under Chatham House rules. So without further ado, I will hand over to Rachel. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Julie. I just want to confirm that everyone can see my screen okay, yeah?
That looks good to me.
Yes.
Perfect. Fantastic. Right, so I know Julie has given an overview of myself, so I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you today, a day after my wedding. So yeah, I founded Curran. It's a tech consultant agency, and this is where I focus on helping my clients develop and implement AI strategies, product development, and also go-to-market strategies. And so my focus for today is just going to walk you through how AI can empower your organization. And I will say, if you do have any questions, please post them in the chat and then we can answer them at the end. So with that in mind, we can dive right in. So firstly, I would like you to scan this QR code, like what's a presentation without a Menti? And I want you to just answer the question, like what comes into your mind when you hear artificial intelligence. So pop your answers there, and we can look and see if there are any recurring themes, or just to see where our heads are at. Hey, a new world. I like that. ChatGPT, speed, slows. Okay, that's an interesting one. Exciting possibilities. Cool. Increased productivity. Great. So what I'm seeing here is that everyone is essentially open-minded when it comes to AI, which is great because there is a tendency for people to fear AI. And part of my kind of goal here today is kind of to kind of demystify some of the things you might have heard online or seen, so you can just kind of understand a little bit more about how AI is not this kind of big scary thing that you need to fear. Grant. So we'll start off about AI today and what the hype is. So it's important to separate what AI can do today versus what the hype is. So today, AI is mostly useful for text, data, and content support. And these are tools you can actually easily deploy quite cheaply. And what it's not a self-thinking robot or a fully autonomous organizations. Unfortunately, those are still science fiction. And I'd like to say this framing is really important. Otherwise, we risk overestimating or fearing the wrong things. So AI is transforming, but it's not taking over. I know there's a lot of fear about AI taking jobs. So what it's actually doing, it's automating routine tasks and creating new opportunities rather than causing widespread job destruction. While some roles, particularly those involving repetitive activities, may see some job displacement, there's research out there that indicates that it's only a small fraction of jobs that are fully automable, and most occupations will be enhanced, allowing workers to focus on higher value creative tasks. So this overall economic outlook suggests increased productivity, new job creation, but it will require adaptation and reskilling to align with the ever evolving workforce. And before we get into, the practical uses, I want us to pause to demystify what we actually mean by AI. So there's a lot of jargon out there and it can feel quite overwhelming. So we'll start off with AI. So like I said, artificial intelligence. And at its simplest, AI is just systems that learn patterns from data, and then it uses those patterns to make predictions or to generate outputs. So if you give it enough examples, it starts to recognize what comes next. And then we have machine learning. So this is a way that AI works. So think of it like teaching a computer by example. So if you show a computer 100 pictures of cats, eventually it'll figure out what makes a cat and it can spot it in another picture. And then we have generative AI, which is the newest wave. And these are tools like ChatGPT, image generators that they just don't analyze, they also create. They can create text, generate images, and even produce audio and video. And the analogy that I like to say is like, think of AI as a helpful intern. It's fast, it's enthusiastic, and it can take a lot of tasks off your plate, but it sometimes get things wrong and it needs supervision. So you wouldn't send your intern's first draft straight to like your clients or your donors without reviewing it first. So when you strip away the hype, AI isn't this mysterious or magical thing. It's a tool that you can use in a smart and purposeful way. You've probably heard the term LLM or a large language model, but what does it actually mean? At its core, an LLM is an AI trained on massive amount of text, so it can understand and generate language. So things like emails, reports, policies, or conversations. They're essentially the engines that power tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Microsoft Copilot. And then you're wondering, what does an LLM do? So think of it as a very advanced text predictor. It doesn't think like a human, but it's trained on patterns of language, so it can draft content, answer questions, summarize long documents, and even analyze data in plain English. And you're kind of wondering, like, why does that matter for me? Why does that matter for my organization? So for the likes of SMEs, it means that you can have faster workflows, write content, and also summarize meetings or pull insights from spreadsheets. And then for charities, it means that you can stretch your resources. So that means drafting applications, producing newsletters, or answering community FAQs automatically. And it's also important to know, like, you have a lot of different options out there. So not all LLMs are the same. So we have ChatGPT, which I believe is the most well-known and versatile. We also have Claude that is excellent at handling very long documents. We have Gemini that integrates into Google Workspace. So if your team already uses Google, it's perfect. Like it lives in Docs, Sheets, or Gmail. And then we have Microsoft's Copilot, which does the same for the likes of Word, Excel, Outlook, and Teams. And then there are open source models like Llama, which is the Meta one, which can be customized, but it does require more technical expertise. So kind of the key takeaway here is to remember, like, you don't need to learn every LLM that's out there. And what matters is picking the one that best fits your organization workflow. And if you're already using Microsoft or Google, for example, you can start there. And if you're looking for flexibility, you can use ChatGPT or Claude, which are very excellent entry points. So here I just have a quick video to explain how LLMs work, just to kind of give you a good breakdown of that. So,
When you ask artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT, a question like, what is the best way to slice bread? It provides an answer that seems like a human expert. The AI appears to know about types of knives and that bread is heated when cooked. Does AI really know these things? How can it know about so many topics? Can we trust the answers? To answer those questions, let's look at the source of the information used by tools like ChatGPT, large language models. Imagine the task of scanning every word on the internet. That's every blog, website, research paper, book, newspaper, computer program, and more. That's the goal of massive computers that power tools like ChatGPT to capture everything it can on the web. This snapshot of over 1 trillion words creates the foundation for large language models. By analyzing the words in the model, ChatGPT can answer our questions and requests with human-like quality. What sounds like expertise is really a math problem for artificial intelligence. It works because powerful computers are trained to look for common patterns between words and phrases, like tomorrow morning, cup of coffee, and suppose that you. Large language models can also detect context. It can tell, based on words that appear together, if you mean bat or bat. Every word becomes a math problem that uses artificial intelligence to find what word should come next in a sentence. So, when we ask AI how to slice bread, it doesn't know about bread or knives like you and me. It only knows the words in the large language model. Because it was trained on 1 trillion words and their context, it can assemble the words that most often answer that question. Keep in mind that AI responses are based on what's published on the internet, and like the internet, they can be biased, misleading, and inaccurate. Evaluate and use them with skepticism and care. With experimentation and practice, you can use these tools to easily access the world's knowledge and find the answers you need quickly.
Great. I hope that kind of provided additional context about LLMs and how they work. And just kind of coming off that, I have a table here, which is a high level summary of LLMs that you may have heard of. So we're going to start off with the most popular, which is ChatGPT. So this is the most widely used, and it's great as a general purpose assistant, whether that's for writing, brainstorming, answering questions. It's also versatile and easy to use, so it makes the great entry points for most organizations. And then we have Claude. So Claude is particularly good at handling long documents and hundreds of pages if needed. It's also designed with safety and ethics in mind, so that makes it very useful for policy review, large reports, or sensitive content. And then we have Gemini, which is Google's LLM. It integrates with Google Docs, Sheets, Gmail, etc., which is a huge plus if your organization is already using Google Workspace. It's also web connected, so it can pull in real-time information. And also it's important to note that Gemini has the best memory out there out of all of them, as it gives you the biggest context window. And you might be wondering, what is a context window? So a context window is the short-term memory of an AI model. So it's specifically how much information it can process and remember at one time to generate a response. It's measured in tokens, and it takes the maximum length of the text in the model that it can consider, influencing its ability to handle complex prompts and maintain coherence in conversations. And then we have Copilot, which is Microsoft's version, like I said earlier on. And if your team or organization lives inside Microsoft 365, it's a natural way for you to save time on reports, presentations, and emails. And like I mentioned, I believe I mentioned earlier, Llama. So it's Meta's open source model. Unlike the others, it's not a ready-made assistant, but if you do have developers on your team, they can customize it to build private or specialized tools. It's powerful for organizations with technical teams, but not something the average SME or charity would use off the shelf. So the big picture is all of these models are capable, but they shine in different contexts. So ChatGPT and Claude are great entry points. Gemini and Copilot are best if you're embedded in Google or Microsoft tools. And Llama is also there if you want full customization. And the key is not picking the best overall, but the one that best fits your workflow and resources. A tool to also keep in mind is ChatHub. So this is an aggregator that you can practice using one prompt at the same time with up to 6 different models that will give you that response. You simply input your prompt and it will show you all the answers from the likes of ChatGPT, Grok, Copilot, and so on. So that way you can get a glimpse of the models all at once. This table here gives you a quick overview of the main ChatGPT models available today, what they're best at, and when you might use them in your organization. So don't worry about memorizing the details. The key is matching the right model to the right task. And so we'll start with GPT-5. It's the most advanced of all the models. It's excellent for deep reasoning, highly accurate outputs, and you'd also use this when the stakes are high, like, for strategy documents, grant proposals, or training materials. The trade-off is that it is slower and more expensive, so it's not something you would use for every short email. And then you have 4.0, also known as Omni, because it can handle text, images, and even audio in the same conversation. It makes for great things like visual reports, training content, or interactive resources. It's also flexible and user-friendly, but it's still developing its enterprise integrations. And then we have ChatGPT 4 or Turbo, and it's a reliable workhouse for professional writing. So Turbo versions make it faster and cheaper, and it's also ideal for everyday reports, newsletters, campaigns, and internal communications. So for most organizations or SMEs and charities, 4 Turbo is the sweet spot. And then we have GPT 3.5, and it's a lightweight version. It's fast and it's also low cost. It's also useful for simple repetitive tasks like short emails, social media posts, or chatbots. However, it's not as reliable as for complex reasoning or sensitive documents. And you also have your custom GPTs. These can be trained on your organization's own knowledge and policies, FAQs, or fundraising information. So this means that your staff and volunteers can get instant answers without searching through multiple files. And the main consideration is data privacy. You need to be careful about what information you do upload. And then you have the plugins. So your GPTs can be extended with plugins. So this allows them to browse the web, analyze spreadsheets, or even run code. And this can be powerful for market research or data analysis. But again, you need to manage your data security very, very carefully. So as a general rule of thumb, I always say, always assume that anything you input can be seen or used unless you turn off training or use the enterprise grade options. So always make sure that you're summarizing or anonymizing sensitive content. And if you've already shared something private, make sure you request deletion. So the rule of thumb is quite simple: 3.5 for large quick task, 4.0 for flexible everyday multimodal work, 5 for high stakes strategic content, and custom GPTs and plugins if you need something specialized. And like I mentioned before, the goal isn't to use the fanciest model every single time. It's to pick the one that saves you time and best fits your context. And here I just have a handy kind of ChatGPT tip in case you haven't used it before.
Rachel, you wouldn't just talk us through that as it's going, would you? Just what you're doing there.
Are you not able to hear the audio?
No, there's no audio there. It's just a vision. You can hear it, can you, on your end?
Yeah, I can hear it. So you can't
Yeah.
hear it at all?
No, we can't hear it. Can anyone
Oh,
else hear it? No. No.
okay. Let me see.
Tech gremlins.
Okay, what I'll do is I will share the link to the video instead because I actually don't have the ChatGPT kind of settings open. So yeah, I can share it with the group and we can watch it when we have a spare moment. Perfect. So now I'm going to move on to why AI matters for your organizations. So AI matters for all organizations, but the reasons look slightly different for SMEs and charities. So both face resource constraints, but they apply in different ways. So looking at SMEs, Small and medium-sized businesses often compete with larger players with more resources, and AI kind of helps level the playing field. It can automate repetitive tasks such as emails, reporting, or scheduling, which can free up staff for higher value work. It also enhances customer service. So, for example, the chatbots can handle simple questions and FAQs, so that way your team can focus on more complex needs. It also allows SMEs to stay nimble and focus on growth, creativity, and also strategy. And then looking at it from the charity lens. So charities face a different challenge altogether. So they're doing more with less. So that's limited staff and tight budgets. This also means that every hour counts. AI can help stretch those resources further. So helping you draft grant application, producing donor letters, or automating routine report. It also enables more personalized donor communications and supporter engagement, improving relationships without extra staff. Additionally, as well, your chatbot and FAQs can help your community access support around the clock while your staff stays focused on human connection. Ultimately, AI helps scale impact without scaling headcount, reaching more people also more efficiently. So, whether you're an SME that's looking to grow or a charity that's looking to maximize impact, AI is not about replacing your people. It's about freeing them up so they can focus on the work that matters most. So, that's innovation, creativity, empathy, and also human connection. So, like we've kind of established, like charities do often face resource constraints, and AI can actually help extend that capacity. It can help with whether it's, like I mentioned, the donor writing, communications, or reporting. So, unlike large corporations, charities are often working with very limited staff and tight budgets, and this is why AI can make such a huge difference. It can help you stretch your resources. It's like adding extra capacity without adding extra salaries. And also, many charities spend hours applying for funding, so AI can help you create your first draft, the grant application, or campaign copies, freeing up your staff to kind of focus on the strategy aspect and storytelling. It can also personalize your supporter communication. So, for example, it can segment your donors and tailor messages to different audiences and also help you improve engagement and loyalty. And also looking at it from a community engagement perspective, like if you have a chatbot or an AI driven FAQs, it can give your communities 24 access to basic information while helping your staff handle other more complex human conversations. And when it comes to scaling impact, it allows your charity to scale without scaling your staff. It enables outreach, education, and also awareness campaigns to reach more people without burning out teams. So the big idea is that AI isn't about replacing people in charities. It's about freeing up people so staff, volunteers, and leaders can focus on the deeply human work of connection, empathy, and impact. So looking at it from a practical perspective, the question, what can you actually start doing with AI without huge budgets, technical skills, or big risks? Here are some entry-level uses you can try right away, along with some examples of tools. So when we look at admin and productivity, AI is brilliant for everyday admin. So tools like ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot can draft your emails, policies, or report. You can give it a rough idea and it gives you a structured first draft. So for meetings, you can use apps like Otter AI or Fireflies, which transcribes and summarizes discussions, saving you hours of note taking. And then looking at marketing and communications, AI tools can speed things up massively. So, for example, the two that I quite like is Canva Magic Tools. It can generate visuals, social captions instantly. And Jasper is also another writing assistant that helps create blogs, posts, and also campaigns. And for frontline engagement, you can even use simple chatbots to answer FAQs on your websites. And then looking at it from the fundraising perspective, AI can draft your grant applications or your donor letters. It's not going to write the perfect application for you, but it will give you a head start. And ChatGPT is especially good for this. You can also use AI inside your CRM or with tools like Excel Copilot to segment donor or member lists. And it also helps spot patterns that you might not see naturally. And it also just doesn't create content, it can help you with decision making. So tools like Google Sheets AI or Excel Copilot can analyze your spreadsheets, and it can also highlight trends or forecast patterns. So for example, it might help you spot seasonal donation dips, or predict when customers are most likely to drop off. The key message is you don't need to overhaul your entire organization and start using AI. Just pick one small, low stakes area like drafting emails, creating social posts, and then just test it from there. And then as you build your confidence, you can then begin to scale gradually. I believe that we don't have a massive group for kind of like a breakout session. So I thought it'd be kind of good open discussion that we can see, like if there's one task that you can say that your charity or SME takes up too much time on, and from what we've kind of discussed here, which AI tool or model do you believe it would help with? And then what would the benefit be? So I think we can just kind of have this open dialogue here.
Rachel, can I ask a quick question just before we jump into that? When you see best practice and ethical that you should be disclosing that you're using AI to write various comms, what's your take on that? I mean, like the whole internet would be just flooded with drafted by AI.
Yeah, I think when it comes to, so for example, if I'm doing a document and I used AI to help me, I wouldn't disclose that there and then because like, although I'm using it, like I'm going through it, I'm doing my own
Yeah.
work and drafting. But if I'm kind of generating images and media that I believe are videos, for example, like a video of a training that I might send out, and I know it's not me, and I've used like AI to do my voice and like my face, I would 100% disclose that because there's
Okay.
some people that are uncomfortable with that. Um, and I also think at the end of the day, it comes down to your own personal values and ethics. Like there's some organizations and businesses that you interact with, and you kind of don't want, you don't want to interact with a business or AI that's, oh, sorry, a business organization that's using AI. I think it also depends on the business themselves. Like, everyone's looking at ways to cut costs and such. So yeah, I think it's really down to the intent behind what you're using AI for, and also the level of interaction your customers would be having with the kind of output that you've generated.
And if you've got the subscription, so you're paying for it, then
Mhm.
it's not been fed. What you're putting into it is not going back into the general, like another person couldn't pull my data out of Mantra's AI. That's
No, so in the settings, you also have an option to turn off to train your chat GPT. So that way
okay.
it's not taking anything. Even in the unpaid version, I believe you can do that as
You
well.
can do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we had a chat about that, Marriott, didn't we? Marriott was putting together an AI policy. But you just, I guess, want to be so careful what you're putting into it if it is pulling that back out elsewhere as well, especially if it's donor information or in our world client information.
Yeah, 100%. I would also anonymize the names. Anything that's identifiable, I would remove.
Lovely. Nicholas, do you have a question there?
Yes, hi, and thank you. Um, I mean, I don't trust it 100%. So I've been using Perplexity, and I would like your views on that. So basically, the way that I would use it, say that I wanted I wanted to draft a document or something. I would draft it myself, and then I would upload and request feedback. Now that implies, and I've been using it as a super powerful search engine. The way that you describe like how to the how to get bread uh, sort of example. But if you're asking for feedback, that means that entails some sort of critical thinking, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So what I know of Perplexity is that it's a very powerful search and answer engine, kind of like a blend between Google search and ChatGPT. And it's also designed to give concise and sourced answers rather than just links. And it can be used for, researching, writing, and summarizing. So what I would say is even when I use ChatGPT, for example, I would always reinforce that do not give me, like, only give me accurate and truthful responses, like show your sources, etc. And if you don't know the answer, do not generate one. So it's also about kind of training the model, and all of that. But I know at Perplexity, it's quite a powerful thinking engine in comparison to the likes of, like, ChatGPT. Um, so yeah, like I said, it will give you sources, not just links. And it also allows you to expand or refine your results by clicking on the references. So you can kind of keep fine tuning your answers as you're getting that response.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned something about, uh, budgeting and forecasting. I mean, how would that work? And I mean, would it still be trustworthy? I mean, I couldn't trust an AI to do my annual budget, really. I mean, I
Mm.
could still, even if it did, I would still need to go in there myself and check and make sure that everything is correct. Which to some point it somehow defeats the purpose, because if I'm to go in there and
Yeah.
check and make sure that all the calculations or formulas or whatever it might have used are correct, then I just might as well sit down and do it myself from A to B, really, from A to Z, really.
No, I completely understand your point. So I wouldn't use AI as my be all and end all tool. I would use it as a starting point or something to support me. So, like you mentioned with budgeting and forecasting, I wouldn't get AI to do that for me. Like, for example, if I have the numbers, I might just get it to run, see, like, okay, what's occurring when it comes to forecasting? Like, what's the most recurring answer that I'm getting? So I'm kind of getting that at a quick view. And then I'm also going in and filtering and I'm like, okay, this is correct. So, like I said, I wouldn't use AI as kind of like the be all and end all and like this source of truth that's doing all the work for me. I use it as a support. So, whether that's getting it to generate emails or FAQs and such, something that I've inputted into that rather than just kind of putting information and then using that as my kind of like submission or anything that I'm sharing externally.
Right,
Thank you.
that's a good point. And I
Yeah.
think I've heard that myself, that, and you touched on it, Nicholas, if you're doing the work and you're using AI to kind of check your work or critique your work, it can be really helpful rather than getting it to do all of your work. So either using it at the beginning to spark an idea or at the end to pick up your typos or whatever it might be. Rachel, I know you've this breakout, but just a question for, I'm sure everyone's thinking, what way should this be managed with teams and staff? Like how, say Nicholas, Marriott, etc. What kind of guardrails should they have with their teams and how their teams are using AI? And what kind of training might they need?
Yeah, I think it's like I said, it's down to the organization. So if you do have Microsoft or Google and you want a team member to be able to access Copilot as kind of like an assistant for helping them note take, helping them schedule meetings, doing a summary and such, I feel like that's kind of like a good entry or breaking point. Or yeah. But if it's a thing that you want them to actively use it, I believe that at that point you'll have to generate like, policies and documents so everyone kind of knows what's expected, what you can and you cannot use things for. So it's kind of spelt out for them there and then. And when it comes to training, there's a lot of like training courses or individuals that provide training. So if it's a thing that you want to get all your team and staff up to a certain level, but depending on the tool that you want to use as well, that's also kind of like a great way, whether it's like a 3-day workshop, you kind of have a goal that you want all your staff to be able to, I don't know, for example, use Claude efficiently, or you want them to be able to use a certain model of ChatGPT to help with their, like if you want to revamp your customer FAQs, you can train them up to do that and how they can upload the questions and the documents for them to use that as well.
But I think a big bit of it is that we talked about it, the checking your work. It is a bit like the old Wild West at the moment, and I know I've popped things in just in my own personal life, and then gone, oh, that doesn't sound right, and it's basically having an hallucination and just telling me what I want because it didn't know the answer. So, like, what type of things can, say, managers, this group of people, do to make sure that employees aren't just using AI and not actually qualifying what they've put together?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, in the settings, you can personalize and customize your chat GPT. You can specifically say, like, do not give answers with no actual sources, or if you want sources or links with every response that you give, you put that in there. And also when it comes to, just making sure that your staff are kind of up to date, that would also be within the training. So they're kind of going in with that knowledge to kind of double check and verify that, yes, the answer that they're getting, it's not a hallucination. And even when you do have the conversation, I would always go in and ask, it's like, show me the sources. and where did you pull this answer from? So, and I also just even click the link to make sure, because sometimes you get the sources, you get the links, it might be broken or it might be outdated, but like the video said, like the internet is biased and it is wrong. So it's just like staying on top of that.
Funny story. I was trying to cut corners, and I just went into ChatGPT. Can you give me the mission and vision of X charity and da da da? And then when I looked at it, I said that doesn't sound right. And when they'd given me their biggest competitor's mission, so you do really have to check it. You just don't want to be assuming it's giving you the right thing. Does anyone else have any questions at this point? Does anybody have anything to ask Rachel? And then I'll let you get back to your breakout. No, I don't see any hands up. Sarah, Caroline, no, Marriott. Oh, sorry, there. No, okay, on you go, Rachel. Thank you.
No, I just wanted to check in if anyone feels inspired, if they have a task that they believe takes up too much time at the moment, and if there's an AI tool or model that they believe that it could help them out with.
Anyone going to? I think we probably are all using it a little bit, but not, extensively. So I think we're all seeing the value. In fact, I had all my blood tests done when I got back from Australia, and then I had all my old Australian tests, and I just took 2 photos, uploaded, and it gave me so much more information than the doctor had about, what was doing better or worse and what I could do to counteract that. So like in a day to day, it's just become sort of a daily usage thing where it wasn't in the past. Maybe we'll move on from this one then, Rachel, because I think we are all, using it for those types of things.
Perfect. No worries at all. Cool. Like we just touched off there, like the key principles for responsible AI. So AI can be powerful, but it's only if we use it responsibly. So for SMEs and charities, trust is everything. So that's whether it's with your customers, your donors, and also with your community. So that means that you need to set some simple kind of common sense guardrails. So transparency, like we said earlier on, be open about when you've used AI. So for example, um, if you draft a newsletter for your donors, you can also acknowledge that you use AI to your customers or your donors. So that way it builds trust and it also avoids surprises. And also looking at it from a supervision perspective. So always keep a human in the loop. AI can draft, but people must review and decide what's fit to publish. So like I said, think of AI as kind of like a junior assistant whose work needs checking. And then you have bias awareness. So AI is trained on past data, which means that it can reflect biases or stereotypes. So always check, does this output feel fair? Does it feel respectful? And is it inclusive? And then we touched on privacy and security. So never paste confidential or personal information into public AI tools. So treat them like social media. Assume anything you type or post can be seen outside your organization. And then looking at it from a purpose fit, ask yourself, does this tool genuinely support my organization's missions and values? Not every shiny new feature is useful. So focus on where AI actually adds real value. And then the easiest way to think of responsible AI is like food hygiene rules. They're quite simple and sensitive. They protect trust as well. And if you follow these kind of 5 principles I've listed, you'll be able to adopt AI confidently and also ethically. And then the key takeaways that we have here is like, we've covered a lot today. So I'll leave you with a few kind of things to note. So clarity. Firstly, AI is not magic or science fiction. It's simply a tool that learns patterns from data. And once you understand that, the jargon feels less intimidating. And secondly, we have confidence. AI really does matter for SMEs and charities. It helps smaller organizations compete and also helps charities stretch their resources further. And also, don't think about where to start. The best way to build your confidence is to try one small, low stakes experiment this week. So maybe that's drafting an email, a donor thank you post, or a social media post as well. And finally, make sure you're using AI responsibly. Keep it transparent, always keep a human in the loop, and always ask, does this tool support our mission and our values? So my kind of challenge for you today is simple. Try one AI experiment this week if you haven't already, and kind of like have the conversation with your team, have that open dialogue, and that's how adoption starts, step by step, not all at once.
Right. And if everyone got the Thrive newsletter, which went out earlier in the week, there was actually an AI readiness tool in there. So just to start to have those discussions, we'll attach it actually, Dami, to this email again, just so everybody can download that along with Rachel's notes. But it's just some of the prompts that you can have with your teams to understand their confidence, how much they're using it, where they're using it, are they using it appropriately, and some of those ethical discussions. I'll open it up to the floor, but Rachel, maybe just a quick thing on regulation and compliance and all of that. Is there anything that this group need to be aware of in that world?
It's kind of hard to answer because I don't have the intricacies and the details of each organization's kind of policies and how they would use AI. But from a very, very super, super high level, if you're using AI to like draft an email, there isn't really any kind of like regulations or things to be aware of there. It really depends on how deep you're going and how deep your organization uses AI. So whether it's integrated to a lot of your tools and softwares, but if you have, for example, a chatbot on your website, it would mostly say like powered by XYZ, or it'll be like, it'll state that this is a chatbot. So I would know straight away that this is AI.
But it is evolving. Has anyone any questions for Rachel? Caroline, you turned your microphone off. Do you want?
I switched screens and I turned my microphone on more by
Oh, don't worry.
But now that it is on, bye to Annabelle.
Hi, Annabelle.
I was just wondering, how do we kind of ensure we safeguard from an ethical perspective, even environmentally or like even long term? Like there are so many ethical implications of promoting the use of AI.
Good question.
Yeah.
I know it's a very broad question, but even just from an environmental perspective.
Oh, you
From
mean
my
the data center use and all of
Yeah.
that kind of
yeah,
thing? Yeah, got you.
Like I think it's not like a Google replacement, and it kind of sounds like it's just the same as using a search engine.
yeah. So like when I heard about the data centers and the impact it's having in the environment, it's like when I first heard about it, I didn't really marry the two in my head. But like, as you read more, you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And so an option that I would use or look at is like to look for efficient models. So like we're kind of aware of the damage it causes to the environment. So for like smaller task specific models, I would use that rather than like for a massive general question that I have. So, for example, like if I want to do some email drafting, I'm not going to go to Claude, which is a thinking model. So, just kind of
Okay.
like opting for more efficient models as well. And also looking at your provider. So, work with cloud providers that actually prioritize, renewable energy. So, I know, for example, I think Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure, they all have sustainability commitments. But I'd also say a lot of these organizations, I do not know how forthcoming they are with,
Yeah.
impact. So that's also something to kind of take with a pinch of salt. So I just think about what can I do from a consumer perspective. So that's like me choosing an efficient model for a task that I'm going to use or run, and also look for providers that actually have sustainability, commitments on their websites. And all, yeah, so that's kind of how I approach it as well, and also look at their policies that they have on their websites.
And also, apparently, you don't thank it because it uses loads of data. People saying thank you for that
Loads of
information.
water. Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
just in our nature to be thankful, isn't it? It's done half your job. Rachel, a question from me for the group, really, on behalf of group. You work in AI strategy. What would an AI strategy look like for a charity?
So it would look like coming in to see, okay, this is where we're at and this is where we want to be. And then, like, from my perspective, I would look to see where we can kind of work more efficiently and just kind of do a review of where we are today and where we want to be. And then it'll come with recommendations of where, like, maybe AI can cut down costs, help generate content to kind of reduce, that kind of human effort in whether it's, oh, we need to put together this, put together that, and also just kind of getting to a point where we're not starting everything from scratch. So whether that's helping to build and customize templates, helping to segment your customers and donors into like, different groups, etc. And yeah, and also depending on how deep you want to go, is it that you want to integrate AI into certain tools and softwares that you have existing at the moment? Or if it's looking at the softwares that you're using, are they talking to each other? Is there a way we can get them to talk to each other as well? And then just kind of building it and taking it from there.
Is it something that all organizations are starting to do, or is it a little bit, they're making it up as they go along, a little bit trying to figure it out?
I think a lot of organizations are just scratching kind of like the surface with it. So they're asking ChatGPT, hey, how do I do XYZ? Like help me do this. But I think if you really want to get the full benefits and understand it better, you need to just kind of dig a little deeper. Like I mentioned, update your chatbot so it's using AI to generate those answers. So you would have like your knowledge source and you're uploading it into your tool and you're customizing your plugin, and that way it's answering the questions. And then also looking at using, for example, Copilot for your meetings, helping that take the meetings notes and also sharing that afterwards. It's also prompting you and reminding you to do certain things as well. So yeah, I think again, it's all down to how far the organizations are willing to go. So
Yeah.
whether that's from helping us do proposals, policies, etc., to I want AI to help me work more efficiently in the long run.
Wow, great. Is anybody anything else there? Nicholas, Sarah, Karen? No.
No, we're just thinking aloud, really, about that question regarding the ethical use of AI and environmental impact. I mean, if the use of AI helps you do things quicker, faster, with fewer resources, then you could make the case that, okay, I'm leaning on a technology that is very energy it's not very good when it comes to energy consumption, but I'm saving that much because I'm working faster and more efficiently. Don't know. That could be a way to think about it.
A very good
It's
point.
water. It's not just energy.
That's water, is it? Yeah.
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 It's just that and yes, it is very handy, but I just think there is more of an ethical impact than maybe we're publicly aware.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very handy and it makes life so much easier. But I just think that if we replace it, I just think it's not just like a Google or a search engine replacement, and I think that's the risk. It's like so much easier to ask ChatGPT, where is that building, rather than asking Google. But there's more of an implication with that ease. But yes, it does speed everything up and saves time.
And then I guess it's a bit like doing a Zoom meeting versus getting in your car and driving to a meeting, isn't it? One you're using fossil fuels and then the other you're using data and water, etc. Yeah, it's just scary, I guess, about where does it all go? Like is this the beginning of the end of humanity? Not to be grim, end on a nice positive note there, Julie.
Yeah, but it's
Sorry.
also at the end of the day, it comes back to that question of how much really, really do we want to see change happening through the use of technology? So, for example, you could say, well, listen, I'm using this tool, which is helping my team work faster, more efficiently. So basically, they can do the work much quicker. Hence, maybe they don't need to work 8 hours a day. But would we be ready to go to that stage of, we use that, it makes our lives easier. So we're giving that back to you, hence improving our people's work-life balance. I don't think so. I mean, I don't even think that we're ever going to get there as a society. So, yeah, maybe it's an irrelevant question, really.
Well, it's probably a good point as well. It's, frees up time. Sorry, Rachel, do you want to respond to that?
Oh no, like even just what sorry, Caroline mentioned earlier on, like, you have people that are generating like cat videos, like, these stories, like that is not a great way to use AI. And like you're contributing, to the environmental impact. It's just kind of keeping in mind, like, yes, this is like a shiny new thing, but I also think it's important that although this is happening, if you don't necessarily want to engage in it or like contribute to the downside of things, it's also important to know how to use it because you don't want to be left behind. Like even when the whole internet bubble happened, there were some people that were like, absolutely not. Like, I don't subscribe to this. I don't believe this. But the workplace is ever evolving. In 10 years, we could be talking about something completely different. So I think it's important to kind of just have that open mind, see what's happening. You don't need to necessarily like be this super technical SME on it, but just be able to at least like, yeah, I know how to use it. I know what's going on. And it's also funny as well. There's a study done that people are now using ChatGPT as their therapist or their best friend. It's the number one reason. So I think before that, people are using it to like answer questions, but now the number one thing that people are using it for is as a therapist or a best friend. And then you're wondering, what is the social impact on this for people as individuals? You're not able to, hold a conversation with a real human being. Like if you have an issue, you're going to be validated by AI online because like AI is always going to want to keep you happy. So it's going to give you the response that you want to hear. So I am interested to see what's this gonna look like in 5 years if people are continually like they continue to do this and how it's gonna damage our very much needed social skills.
Yeah, totally. You're already a bit damaged. It's probably a question. Oh, Sarah, do you want to ask something there
I
first?
was just going to say I'd never thought of using AI as a therapist. So I'm going to go now in a minute. I'm going to put in, I'm in a really bad mood. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah. Well,
It
my
gives
sister is a
relationship
clinical.
advice. Like it's phenomenal. I have a friend who relies on it. She's like, oh, it just knows me. And I'm like, yeah. Anyway.
It is funny. And my sister's a clinical psychologist, and she's like, she's even got rid of her own therapist, and she's using AI. I said that doesn't sing well for your
Oh
future
my
in work.
God.
One question I would have, and you touched on it, is the accuracy of your prompts. So obviously, if we're thinking ethically and using it for really what we need, not to generate cat videos, what are the best ways, or what are your top tips for how you interrogate it and ask those questions? There's a lot comes up about this, about, are we asking them the right way to get the most out of it?
Okay, and is this for like everyday use or just kind of like you pop in a quick question?
Yeah, just that you're not wasting questions, so that you're not wasting data centers and water. That is there a specific way to ask the question to AI to get the best out of it?
Yeah, so I would always make sure the prompts are clear and specific, and just to make sure like there's no ambiguity or incomplete prompts. I know sometimes when I'm in a rush, like I might start typing and I'll hit enter by mistake, so I've already wasted an answer there. So just kind of like taking your time to think, okay, what is it that I'm looking to get out of this? So give context, set the style and purpose. So for example, I'll be like, hey, tell me, or be like, for who, for how long, be like, I'm this person, and also share that kind of background information. So who's my audience, what's the goal, and also format. So for example, for an email, I would say, write a short email in a warm, professional tone, blah blah blah. So like I'm saying I want this warm, it's professional, I've said who the audience is, and I've also given it the task for a short email, and then it'll say what it is. And even for example, I wouldn't just kind of come in and be like, hey, write about how to lose weight. Like it's just so vague. Like there's nothing like, yeah. So I would kind of go in and be like, hey, I am this person that has a goal to run a marathon in XYZ. I want to XYZ. Like, do you understand what I mean? Like just kind of being very specific as well. And also with your prompts, also include context, like I said, who it's for, what the goal is, what tone to use as well. And if you get a good response, make sure you save that prompt. So then you're kind of building out your little prompt library. So whether that's for your team to use, and yeah, and like the accuracy of your prompt, it also determines the accuracy of your output. So what you get, what you put in is what you get out.
Rachel, sorry, is there a way of saving prompts or are you just talking about cutting and pasting and shoving it somewhere else?
Oh, so with ChatGPT, well, I know with ChatGPT, I can tell it to save it, like the way I've answered this question, like I want you to respond this way for the rest of this conversation. So you can also
Okay.
do that. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you are using it on
Yeah.
anything public facing, remove the big dashes because I call them AI's fingerprints. You know, when you see those big long dashes between words instead of commas, I'm not sure where it's crept in. Would you say agree, Rachel?
The M dashes.
Yeah.
I know, but a lot of writers, they take it very personally because, they are like writers and they've been using M dashes way before generative AI came about. It is quite an easy, quick way to spot when someone has used AI, but
Yeah.
there are some people that apparently use M dashes in their daily conversations. So who's to know?
Who's to know? I know I see it all the time on LinkedIn now, in particular. It just screams AI. And the other thing it does often is it does a negative, then a positive. You know, it's not this, it's this. And I always think it sounds very AI when it starts with something negative.
Yeah.
It
And
is. It's a smart business decision. Yeah.
when you see the rocket emoji and, there's some emojis that I'm like, this is definitely AI.
Yeah, yeah. There's an ad on CNN at the moment, and I swear to God, it's literally AI. It's, in today's fast-moving, business-paced world, and it's just those same words that we're hearing
Yeah.
everywhere. Any final questions or comments? Everyone's doing
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Well, listen, we will send the